These are the games that very nearly made it into the Game Awards video, my favorite games of the year, but narrowly missed out. The first game I'd like to talk about, which some of you may already have thought, and that was a strange omission. Why didn't you talk about that game? Where was that? FromSoft Night Rain, a new Elden Ring game, and it didn't make it onto the Game Awards video. Why? I think this probably would have come as a surprise for some people because I streamed quite a lot of Night Rain. I played quite a lot of it on stream. I have a real love-hate relationship with Night Rain. I would consider it like my comfort game, where if I just want to jump into a game and not really think much and just like do something comfortable and nice, where I don't really want to use my brain too much, I will play Night Rain. And I would say at this point, like, more than jumping into a new playthrough of Elden Ring, I would probably rather do Night Rain because it's a really compact Elden Ring experience where you are doing the full run through, level 1 to max, weak to strong, in a shorter period of time than you would in a full playthrough of Elden Ring. Much shorter time. I think there are some really good evolutions of Elden Ring combat in Night Rain. I think shield combat with Guardian is really fun, but it becomes less relevant as the content gets more difficult. Bows are a lot more fun. I think sprinting with L3 on controller is really, really is a really great innovation to the FromSoft formula, to the point where when I was going back to Elden Ring to do RL1 stuff, I would instinctively press L3 and just accidentally crouch like all the time. I think that's a really good way to solve some of the camera issues of needing to kind of grab. What do you call it? What do you call it? It's not crab grab, floor grab. I like crab grab. I think that's a really good innovation. And I do like, I was thinking at the beginning, like, I probably won't be too into this because it's like a multiplayer thing where I normally would prefer solo. I like helping people through the content. I think that's really a fun way to play the game and try to like, oh, if they die a lot, can I carry it? Like, that's, I think, a really fun challenge. The big issues for me are, for one, like, after the DLC, I had like a new kind of revival into it, but I got really frustrated with the matchmaking, with how levers are punished. They're just not punished at all. Because that's the thing, is like, there's such a weird difficulty curve where some of them are really easy and some of them are just like insanely difficult in Depth of Night, 3 and above. Where, of course, you're going to quit if it's Libra. Of course, you're going to quit if it's Balances or Dreglord. Because if you just restart, you can do one of the easier bosses at no penalty. So I was getting levers just every match. I think there was like a massive like 10, 12-hour stream I did where I literally got a lever in every single match, or it was like a level 3 dogs invade or something like really just mean, which can happen from time to time, but just seemed to happen a lot. I found that a lot where I don't know how seeds work in Night Rain, but I was getting games where people in chat were saying, oh, I just had that seed. I was getting levers that would leave and then I would queue into another game which seemed to be exactly the same seed a lot. Solo in particular, it seemed to happen a lot. But also the fact that there was so many seeds that I did where you would encounter literally the same camp repeated directly next to each other. And sometimes like even 3 on the same map, exactly the same camp, which just never happened. Like, I don't know what the quality control is on the seeds themselves or how many there are or what, but there should just never be 2 of the exact same camp next to them. 40 seeds for regular expeditions, right? So if there's only 40, how are you going to have even one of them that has the same camp duplicated right next? Like, I don't understand it. So that's a big complaint for me. I'd say the biggest complaint, though, on just how the content has developed over time is that, yes, I think it's good to have these extra Night Lords from the DLC and Everdark versions where they're like extra hard mode is cool. But from the very beginning, even the network test that I did right at the beginning of last year, my immediate complaint was they chose very strange bosses for the camps, the field bosses, and the end of night bosses. They're not the best bosses in Elden Ring by any means. Some of them are the worst bosses in Elden Ring. And you fight them every single round. I don't understand. Even in the DLC, like the new map, and there's some new camps, yes, but the stuff that they should have added over time is making the nights to the lead up of the Night Lord more interesting, because that's the stuff that's really boring. And that's what you do most of each round. The Night Lord makes up like a pretty small portion of each match you have. Even though I spent so much time in it, I also spent a lot of time very angry at the game. Yeah, ultimately, I think it is a real disappointment for me, unfortunately, despite me putting so much time into it and hours into it. I'm sure if there's new stuff, I'll pop into it, but there is just some really fundamentally broken stuff about it. And I don't think it is interesting. I don't think there is enough variety run to justify playing it regularly, really. The next one's a really unfortunate one. It was really close to being on the list. Skate Story. It's a little indie game that was only released late last year. So I played through it really recently. When I was like in my early teens, I was one of those tragic kids that loved the Tony Hawk games and thought, wow, I love to skate in these games. I will be great at it in real life. And so I bought a skateboard and all the stuff, and then realized I couldn't do it. I couldn't even do an ollie. Because it turns out this stuff is a lot harder in real life than it is in video games. But there's just something about the feeling of skating in video games that I really loved. And Skate Story, I think, is like all the kids that were into Tony Hawk games when we were young, grew up and became like arty, pretentious millennials. This is like the game, you know? It has like a story that it doesn't bend to those kind of Tony Hawk pro skater stereotypes. It is like really poetic and strange and surreal. And just visually, it's really kind of striking. It's funny at times, but it has like this kind of almost zen, like the meaning of it is meaninglessness. That I really liked, that kind of is very core to skater culture. I think that it's just like just about skating, man. Amazing music to go with the visuals, these sequences where you're kind of like going doorway to doorway on like a skating run is so cool. The issue is, the only reason why didn't make it on the Game Awards list is that I got soft locked when I first bought it after like a few hours of play, and just couldn't proceed until a patch came out about a month and a half later. And I was on the forums, and a bunch of other people were having the same issue, just got completely soft locked. There was a bunch of different places in the game where you could get soft locked, and I reached one of them. It got patched a month and a half later, so I was like, great. Downloaded the game in again, leapt right in, got almost to the end of the game and got soft locked again. Just like literally no way to proceed. Can't finish the game. And I gave up. I was so frustrated. Like I just literally couldn't finish the game. I've never, ever bought a game and downloaded it where I couldn't actually play it. Yeah, it's not good enough. And it's so sad because I think it's a really cool game. I think it deserves to be played by people, but right now it's broken. I got a couple puzzle games here. First one I want to talk about is called II. Oh. This was on the list until really, really late. I think and Roger ended up taking its place. But I really love this. It's a very simple game. You can play through it in an afternoon. It's kind of Metroidvania-y, but it's not like a it's not really so exploration focused. It's more on the idea that like you will find a solution to a puzzle and realize that that solution will actually help you with another solution elsewhere. You kind of know how to navigate the world a bit better in that same kind of Metroidvania style. It was a game, I think the most amount of times I audibly said, oh wow, this is a really good game, like out loud, because the puzzles are simple enough to not take like a long time to get stuck on, but you get stuck, you still have a lot of those aha moments where suddenly you realize, oh wow, there's a lot more I can do with this simple system than I thought I could. It's really, really good. I think a few people have asked me in the past, what puzzle game would you recommend for people that don't really play a lot of puzzle games? Check out this one. It's very accessible, but the puzzles aren't like so simple that you don't even use your brain at all. Some of them dumped me for a little bit. This simple concept of using multiple bombs to propel you in different directions has so many different applications in this game. The same solution is rarely applied multiple times. It is always escalating the idea. So that's II. I would really recommend it to everyone. That was like very, very narrowly got taken off the list by Ant Roger. I really, really enjoyed this one. The other puzzle game that I really, really enjoyed and would recommend as well for more seasoned puzzle people is a game called Gentoo Rescue. The complete opposite end of the spectrum to II. It is so complex. If anyone knows Baba Is You, there is like this meta element to it where on the level select screen, there are puzzles. That is like a mid to late game, end game revelation in Baba Is You. In Gentoo Rescue, that's the tutorial. It's insane. There are so many little things about this, like this sliding penguin puzzle that is just like, it keeps escalating and escalating and becoming more and more and more and more complicated before you're just doing things you would have never thought possible. This one, the only reason this didn't make the list is because, you know, talking about difficulty and the limits of difficulty, I can recognize how amazing this game is. There was a limit probably around the mid game for me where things just get so insanely hard that I couldn't do it. Anyone who finds like even the hardest puzzles of blueprints too simple, get on Gentoo Rescue. Absolute underappreciated gem. It will turn your brain inside out and absolutely destroy you. It is hard. It's really good though. Deltarune. I got into Deltarune this year with the new big release. I hadn't played any of the earlier chapters, but I had played Undertale, and I replayed Undertale before going into Deltarune, and I really loved it. It's easy to, I think, eye roll a little bit, considering how wild the community can be, and how much of a meme some of the Sans stuff became, and like some of the little details that were really charming and refreshing at first and then got memed so hard to oblivion that they became a little bit annoying. But Undertale still is really good. You know, replaying it, it is, I think, changing that turn-based Earthbound Dragon Quest combat into like these little mini games, and like kind of bullet hell elements is so inventive and interesting. And more than anything, I think it's just funny. You know, I think humor in video games is so rare and should be really rewarded when it is genuinely funny. Like, you know, with Baby Steps, I think comedy is underappreciated a lot of the time, and Deltarune and Undertale, they're just genuinely laugh out loud funny a lot. And that should always be celebrated. There is so much variety in Deltarune, even more so than Undertale. But I mean, the one thing about Deltarune, and the reason it's not on the list, is it's just not finished. I am very sick amongst all this franchising and marvelization of things, of just never having an ending, and things just like to be continued, to be continued, to be continued. Like, just give me a beginning, middle, and end, please. Especially when it's this drawn out, you know, when it's a decade or more that the story has been going without an ending. I can't do it. I just can't do it. It's too long. It's too long. I was like really close to even just not doing it this year, because I was like, I don't want to have to wait another 5 years to get the ending of this story. I'd rather wait and then do it all beginning, middle, and end. And I was told, no, it's good. It's like doing the season of a TV show. You'll still have a satisfying conclusion. And I disagree. I enjoyed the games that I'm playing them. I loved them, but it's not an ending. It's not finished. There's still so much hanging in the air. I can't vibe with that. There's too much time in between drinks. You know what I mean? The other one that's kind of similar in some ways, Look Outside. I had a real roller coaster with Look Outside, because as people in the Discord know, when I was like in the process of playing it, I almost gave up on it multiple times because I just wasn't making any progress. And what I discovered is that I was playing the game like a proper horror game, where I was suspicious of everyone because it's horror and everyone's bad and out to get you, and this is a terrible world that you don't want to be in, trust no one, etc. So I didn't get any party members for most of my time in the game, which, if anyone has played it, will know that is a bad way to play the game, because it's hard. It's so much harder. And what I learned was you need to be more trusting to get help through the game. You need to be trusting of the people that you meet. And I think that's a really neat bit of story through gameplay. It tells the story through play and not just through dialogue or to the player, of telling the story of like being very alone. The solution to loneliness is not hiding away and being nervous. It's actually in building a community and trusting people despite them looking very scary and mean and horrible. And sometimes that trust works against you. Sometimes there are bad people that you meet. But if you don't trust people, then you just will not make any progress. And I think that's a really nice storytelling. The issue is I don't think the combat is intuitive enough, especially coming from Deltarune and definitely Clair Obscur, where they take this JRPG style, turn-based style, and innovate it on new ways so it feels new. This is very much a traditional Earthbound style game, which, as much as I like Earthbound, the combat is the worst thing about it, by far. Especially for horror. I haven't played the Fear and Hunger game, so I don't really know how it works in that game. But there is a kind of survival horror aspect to it where you want resources, but I found, at least for most of it, when I didn't have party members, I wouldn't even have an opportunity to use resources because I'd be dead before I could even use them. Of trying to like evade an enemy so you don't enter combat. The hallways are so narrow where that's not really a possibility a good deal of the time. you can't really kite things reliably. Like playing through Resident Evil recently, you have an interesting bit of strategy when you think, okay, I'm going to be in this hallway a lot. I should kill this zombie so I don't have to like navigate around it every single time. But if you're in an area where you don't think you'll be back to, you can either try just avoid it, or you can shoot it in the knee so it falls down a little bit, giving you time just to walk through. It won't kill it, but you can still get by safely. Those little strategical decisions, navigating like around how many resources you have and how lethal you can be, those are really interesting little decisions to make through gameplay. I don't think there's enough of that in the combat here, especially given you have to do a lot of exploration in Look Outside to know what to do. And I think even one of the influences for Look Outside was Lama Lana. Like that's the level of exploration you're intended to do. Lama Lana, yes, there's a lot of exploring, but whipping enemies without zooming into a turn-based combat experience is a much faster, more immediate thing, which makes exploration less of a chore. Really dragged down Look Outside for me. I think if the combat was a little more engaging, or those kind of survival horror-y aspects was more engaging, it'd be more interesting for me. But from what I know, there's been a lot of updates to the game since I played it, so it might be more interesting now. I can't say. But obviously the music is really, really interesting. Visually interesting on a Lovecrafty level that I really love. Like I love the kind of the people who have gone mad with knowledge that shouldn't be known, you know, that kind of Lovecrafty trope. I love that. But I think most of my feelings towards it, the positive feelings I have, is in that wonderful kind of way that it tells its story of the solution to being alone is to connect with people and not hide more. I like that. 2 more games that I want to talk to you about, and these ones are another couple obvious omissions, I'd say. Hades 2. Now, Hades 2 is definitely one I think a lot of people expected. This one I think is like very personal, just in the way that I experienced it, because I had never played Hades 1 until the release of Hades 2 was approaching. And so I played Hades 1 first, and then went on immediately into Hades 2. Which is probably not a good way to do it, because by the time I went to Hades 2, it was like playing a very, very, very big expansion. And I'd already by that point gotten a little over the same loop. It is like really engaging. It is an evolution in a lot of ways in the combat. I love the siren boss with a different song when it loops around. I love that. It's a better game in every way except for the story, I'd say, which is significantly less interesting. But by the time I got to Hades 2, it was significantly less of an impact because I'd just done Hades 1. I wouldn't say the story is bad. It's just not, it says less than the first game. It has less to say. So yeah, I think Hades 2 is a really engaging game. The issue I think of it coming this year, I mean, one, it has been available to play for a long time. I don't usually engage with early access at all because I very rarely play games through multiple times. So if I'm gonna play through a game, I want it to be like a full release. So I hadn't engaged with the early access of it at all. Because it's been in early access so long and it's only being released now, the issue is that like this roguelike formula has been done a lot since Hades 1 in a lot of different iterations, to a point where the loop has become kind of old hat, I want to say. Like it's been in, it's a trend, you know what I mean? And this is a very, very good version of this loop. I had just done it with Hades 1 because I'd only just played it before. I played Absalom after Hades 2. And I think gave me that, like, oh, wow, this is a new version of this same roguelike loop that I think is innovative and is interesting in a way that I don't think Hades 2 was to me. Because there is a co-op aspect that I found really fun and to do. And it's like really, the co-op's really good because you can both have your own individual progressions. And when you do co-op, it like merges your progression systems. Like if one person is further along, you won't spoil anything for them and vice versa, but you will still progress things for your own campaign when you help out other people. So I really like how the co-op works in the game and how the progression systems work. I do find like I maxed out a lot of things really, really early. You do all that very quickly, and then it's really just getting better. And I think I like the roguelikes, which are like Spelunky 2, where you progress by just like a mastery of the systems a lot more than the Hades system, which is just like you do way more damage the more upgrade points you use. I like that more. It feels like less artificial, like the numbers are just evening out, and it's more just that I'm dodging stuff and not getting hit. I'm not really a beat 'em up guy, but I think there is like a lot of complexity in the fighting system. Some things do just seem way, way, way stronger, so I haven't looked too much into the balancing of it, but yeah, I enjoyed Absalom a lot. I think it is an interesting twist on this formula. It's just a formula that I've played a lot. The indie scene is kind of swamped with these at the moment. Trend chasing is nothing new, and I don't think there's anything wrong with the developer choosing a rogue-like format. In terms of rating them as like my favorite games of the year, though, like I don't think there's enough in either of these games that feels new and interesting to me to justify putting it on that list. But that's a very personal taste because, again, someone who's played every Monster Hunter game might not feel that Wilds is innovative enough in the same way, but it's the first one that I've played that feels new and fresh. So it's completely a personal thing, really. Those are my honorable mentions, really. Those are the games that made it very, very, very close to being on the list. I enjoyed all of them greatly and highly would recommend each of them to anyone, except maybe Skate Story. You might want to wait a little bit more for a patch because I still can't finish it. That is all. What else can I say? How do I wrap up a YouTube video?